This is your daily scripture for April 8th. My name is Henry Loke. This is God's Feeding Station. Nice to be with you today. We are continuing in the book of Deuteronomy today, and we're going to finish up chapter 32. For they are a nation void of counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would discern their latter end. How could one have chased 1,000, and two have put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them, and the Lord had given them up? For their rock is not as our rock. Our enemies are by themselves. For their vine comes from the vine of Sodom and from the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of poison. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents and the cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me, sealed up in my treasuries? Vengeance is mine and recompense for the time when their foot shall slip. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and their doom comes swiftly. For the Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none remaining, bond or free. Then he will say, where are their gods, the rock in which they took refuge, who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offering? Let them rise up and help you. Let them be your protection. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God beside me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal, for there is none that can deliver out of my hand. For I will lift up my hand to heaven and swear as I live forever, if I sharpen my flashing sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will take vengeance on my adversaries, and I will repay those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, with the blood of the slain and the captives from the long-haired heads of the enemy. Rejoice with him, O heavens. Bow down to him, all gods, for he avenges the blood of his children and takes vengeance on his adversaries. He repays those who hate him and cleanses his people's land. Moses came and recited all the words of this song in the hearing of the people, he and Joshua the son of Nun. And when Moses had finished speaking all these words to all Israel, he said to them, take to heart all the words by which I am warning you today, that you may command them to your children, that they may be careful to do all the words of this law. For it is no empty word for you, but your very life, and by this word you shall live long in the land that you are going over the Jordan to possess. That very day the Lord spoke to Moses, go up this mountain of the Abarim, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, opposite Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel for a possession. And die on the mountain which you go up, and be gathered to your people, as Aaron your brother died on Mount Hor, and was gathered to his people, because you broke faith with me in the midst of the people of Israel at the waters of Meribah, Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, and because you did not treat me as holy in the midst of the people of Israel. For you shall see the land before you, but you shall not go there, into the land that I am giving to the people of Israel. Luke 12:35-59. Stay dressed for action, and keep your lamps burning, and be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast, so that they may open the door to him at once when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will dress himself for service, and have them recline at table, and he will come and serve them. If he comes in the second watch, or in the third, and finds them awake, blessed are those servants. But know this, that if the master of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have left his house to be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Peter said, Lord, are you telling this parable for us or for all? And the Lord said, who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom his master will set over his household to give them their portion of food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find doing so when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that servant says to himself, my master is delayed in coming, and begins to beat the male and female servants, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful. And that servant who knew his master's will, but did not get ready or act according to his will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved a beating will receive a light beating. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required, and from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. I came to cast fire on the earth, and would that it were already kindled. I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how great is my distress until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to give peace on earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. For from now on in one house there will be 5 divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. He also said to the crowds, when you see a cloud rising in the west, you say at once, a shower is coming, and so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say, there will be a scorching heat, and it happens. You hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time? And why do you not judge for yourselves what is right? As you go with your accuser before the magistrate, make an effort to settle with him on the way, lest he drag you to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and the officer put you in prison. I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the very last penny. Psalm 78, 56 through 64. Yet they tested and rebelled against the Most High God and did not keep his testimonies, but turned away and acted treacherously like their fathers. They twisted like a deceitful bow. For they provoked him to anger with their high places. They moved him to jealousy with their idols. When God heard, he was full of wrath, and he utterly rejected Israel. He forsook his dwelling at Shiloh, the tent where he dwelt among mankind, and delivered his power to captivity, his glory to the hand of the foe. He gave his people over to the sword and vented his wrath on his heritage. Fire devoured their young men, and their young women had no marriage song. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows make no lamentation. Proverbs 12:24. The hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor. Lots going on in Luke today, and I'm just trying to figure out, I don't even know where to start. A lot going on. Again, we must be ready for Christ's coming again. He talks about, those who, by keeping our lamps burning and reading the signs, and I think we have to be very careful to not be fearful, but to be vigilant and to be those watchers on the wall, because I don't know if we've read that scripture already, but for the watcher on the wall comes a great responsibility, and for those of us who know to be watchers, and if we are watchers and don't alert people, don't do our best to spread the gospel, don't warn people of what's to come in accordance with God's will, we would be held accountable. And so there's all this stuff that Jesus talks about today. He has this baptism that he must be baptized with. When James and John, the sons of Zebedee, asked about being seated at his right hand and his left, he asked, I have a baptism I need to go through. Are you willing to do that? And they were like, yes, we're willing to do that. And I wonder what they thought when they saw him being beaten and being crucified, if they felt the same way. And so, but with that, this baptism, we have this thing of full immersion sometimes, and those types of things. And in reading Matthew Henry, he brings up an interesting point. He says these sufferings and such, this baptism that Jesus will go through, he will be dipped in them, in these sufferings. He will not be drowned in them. I get that. Many times we allow the hardships of our lives to overwhelm us. And, I don't have an answer for how to not let that happen, because I let that happen to me all the time. I think prayer is a big thing. And I think that's where it starts. Getting in the right frame of mind with God and in the right posture with God, I think, helps that. But it is that thing to understand that, to not be overwhelmed by what comes at us. And it's easy to say, because, there are some things that come at us, and for me, it's the medical, right? And there's some things that that I deem minor. There are things that I deem major, and the major things, and my, people will tell you who've been around me lately, it's probably all major with me these days, but people will tell you, that I let those things just overwhelm me. And we have to keep things in their proper perspective. And so, when it comes to suffering and stuff, and especially things that are deemed worthy by God to go through for us, a lot of times it's to refine us. I mean, Jesus underwent this. I think there was angst. I'm not going to say he went into all of this with great bravado and had no thought for what was coming upon him, because we know by this story in the garden that's not true. He said if there were any other way to do this, but he submitted to God's will. And so he went through this as knowing this would redeem God's creation, that, and his heart was set upon it. And I think that's why he was able to go through with it as he did. And so, we all are going to be dealing with hardships and difficulties. It just is. But the fire and stuff and division, that he's bringing is going to be between believer and non-believer. And the fire is going to be for some of us who believe that need to have dross removed and need to be refined by it. And so, and the division is going to come, the ones that continue in unbelief are going to hate the ones that have faith. History shows that, and it's going to continue, and we're seeing that now. And so, those who don't believe are going to be willing to hand over those who do for whatever, whether it's courts now or however they can find a way to make our lives difficult, they will do that. And we just have to stay faithful. And so I think those are the things he's talking about. And I think we have to turn our eyes upon Jesus and stay fixed on him and be in prayer constantly, because I think that's the only way to get through this. Otherwise, I think if we rely on our own devices, we're lost. Hope you're having a great day. God willing, we'll talk again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.